Welcome to the Wednesday show, the most fun show of the week. Buy low, sell high. Got some fun stats for you to think about. ADOT and things of those nature. And, more conventional stats as well. We also have a special guest joining us today. I'll tell you about that in a moment. I've got a note about Fab. And, of course, we've got this COVID news to talk about. Adam Aizer, Dave Richard, Heath Cummings here. Okay, Dave, I think, wants to say something. He wants to the audience about something that happened last night.
Well, look, we're recording this Wednesday morning and something big happened Tuesday night, and I think everybody needs to hear it. I made a massive trade.
Ooh.
And I want everybody's opinion on this blockbuster. I traded away. Grade my trade. I'm giving myself an A+ because why else would I have made the trade if I wasn't doing that?
You certainly wouldn't be bringing it up on the podcast if it wasn't a good trade.
Well, listen, if it was an interesting trade, I would bring it up. If it was a lopsided trade where, I traded away Alvin Kamara for Joe Mixon and Justin Jefferson, I wouldn't tell my kids. All right, here we go. Matt Ryan, Mike Davis, Cam Akers, Kareem Hunt. This is in a tiered PPR league where running backs get points per reception starting with their third catch.
All right, you got to say the names again.
I got it. Akers, Hunt, Mike Davis, and Matt Ryan. So 3 running backs plus Matt Ryan. The other side of the trade, Kyler Murray, Jonathan Taylor, James White.
Obviously the Kyler side. I mean, what is this, a joke?
The
Kyler side.
Well, Heath likes Kareem Hunt a lot.
Who was the other running back besides Akers and Hunt?
Mike Davis.
I mean, it's not as bad as I made it out to be, but
that's not an A. That's an Azer.
What do you mean? the Kyler
it's an Azer trade.
The Kyler side gets an A-.
Well, you got like a top 5 to 6 difference maker at quarterback. You got a number 1 running back, and I don't even remember what the third piece was, but
James
it's the spare
White.
Part. James White.
Wait, was James White the number 1 running back or Jonathan Taylor?
He's the spare part.
Sure.
For like a high end number 2 running back, a fine low end number 1 quarterback, and a bunch of replacement parts.
Calling Matt Ryan a low end number 1 quarterback, though, that might be a little severe. Is it?
I agree. He was last. He wasn't even that last week, and I don't know if he will be this week.
If he loses Julio Jones and Russell Gage every week, then sure.
It's just that the game has changed so much.
But the players are the same. Sorry, that's
it takes you need to average 30 points a game if you want to be a top 5 quarterback.
No, you got to go higher. You got to go a little lower than that, not 30.
All right, but he's low end number 1 implies he's like the 12th or 10th. I don't know. He's a little better than that, isn't he?
If he's got Julio, then sure.
Dave,
it would help if he had a pass catching running back.
The number 5 quarterback in CBS has scored 91 fantasy points so far. The 30 points a game was not.
No, I know, but do you think?
Okay, I'm just thinking historically. Usually, there's 1 or 2 quarterbacks that average close to 30 points per game, if not over it.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think that that's going to normalize a little bit? Because right now, Russell Wilson's on pace for 75 touchdown passes.
He probably won't do that.
Yeah, probably not. All right, good job, Dave. Way to go. Here's a quick note about Fab. Every week we tell you, you should spend this on Fab. And every week Fab runs, and people in most of my leagues end up spending more than what we recommend. So the only thing I'd say is take our recommendation with a grain of salt. We will give you he's an 8%, like Justin Jefferson, 8% or whatever, as kind of how we're seeing that player. You adjust based on your record, your team needs, how much Fab you have left. But that's why people say talk more about Fab. In the preseason, they say talk more about salary cap leagues, or what we used to call auction leagues. They're just all so different. I find that to be one of the more difficult parts of this job when you talk about free agent budgets and salary cap leagues and stuff like that. So with Fab, it's like everybody, if you really want a player, you have to go higher than what we say, is basically what I would tell you. We're just giving guidelines. And
I like to think of it as we're giving what we would bid.
But I even think it's a little insincere, because we do that show, for me anyway, I think for most of us, we do it Tuesday morning. So we do that show before we do our bids. And then I find myself personally going in and putting more money and certain, like I have a
Stop
team.
lying to our listeners.
I'm not doing it on purpose. I don't think Hunter Renfrow is someone that you should have spent $6 or $8 of your budget, 8% of your budget on. But I personally really could use a fill-in PPR wide receiver in a couple of my leagues, and I was aggressive with Hunter Renfrow. I spent $6 to $8 on him in 2 leagues, and I don't know that that was a great idea in general, but I needed it for me. I had a lot of fab left. I didn't spend much yet. So I don't know. It just feels like you should spend a little more than what we say if you really want the player and don't feel bad about it. That's all.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Do as I do, not as I say, I guess is what it would be. Right?
I don't know. Like, how many players have gone through fab so far this season that you're sitting here on Wednesday morning of week 4 and really regretting that you didn't bid enough to get them? Mike Davis, certainly.
So far.
I don't know if Noah Fant was a free agent.
Well, I mean, just look at the Benny Snell case. Hold on. Go back to Benny Snell after week 1, where we talked about, I want to say we talked about maybe 15% max was as high as we were going to go. Maybe it was even lower than that because we weren't 100% sure how long he was going to be the guy if James Conner was going to be out. And people were fabbing him up like crazy. And I'm glad if people listen to us on Benny Snell and a bunch of other people, they're happy that they lost those bids. They're happy that they bid 15% and didn't get Benny Snell. Now, I went and looked at one of the leagues that we're all in, and Justin Jefferson went for 17% of fab. It's about double, a little less of what we were willing to go for him. And time will tell if that ends up being a great buy or a terrible buy. And here's the reality of the situation. How many players per season come off the waiver wire and make an impactful difference in a fantasy league, not just for your team, but just in general, fantasy football? Maybe Heath, you've got a number that you could, is it 20? Is it 30? Is it less than 20? How many players are fab ads during the season that end up being starters for your fantasy team?
For more than a week, Dave?
For more than a week.
10 to 15.
Like literally blindfold us and point us to the nearest dartboard. We have no idea at all. We're trying to pull a number out of somewhere and just throw it against the wall.
Let's go crazy. Is the number 100? No way, right? Is the number 50? Probably not. Is the number 25? Are there 25 players that come off the waiver wire in a given season? I'm not asking you to name the 25 players from last year. But how many players this year have come off the waiver wire? How many? It's been 3 weeks. How many players have come off the waiver wire? That
was how I started this discussion, was by asking that.
Yeah,
right. I'm coming right back around to it.
It's Hunter Renfrow in 2 weeks. That's my point. But my point is, I need to go out and get a win, and I like him this week. So maybe I'm going to be wrong about him. That's fine. But I like him this week, and I spent $6 to try to win a league. I spent $6 last week on the Colts DST. Would we ever say spend 6% of your budget on a DST? It was the best move I made. Okay. So I think you can be more aggressive than what we tell you. It's whatever. This conversation didn't need to go on that long. Let's do some buy low and some sell high. Special guest coming on the show later today is Nick Fox. Nick Fox generously donated to our St. Jude draftathon, and he donated for a spot, guest appearance on a podcast. So he's coming on today to do a little fill in the blank and read your Apple Podcast questions. He plays in 10 leagues. He's in the FFT Open, which I haven't talked about. The FFT Open, we'll talk about it with Nick a little bit later. Casey Simons, one of our listeners, started the FFT Open. There are, I don't know, about 200 listeners in that contest, and that's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Who's your favorite buy low? Heath, who's your favorite buy low right now?
Man, I got the free space. Thank you for coming to me first. Deshaun Watson is like not just my favorite buy low, but I feel like the show's favorite buy low, maybe the industry's favorite buy low, which makes it more difficult for you to buy low on him, except as we talked about yesterday on FFT on CBS Sports HQ, most leagues are not like our leagues. So you probably do have an opportunity to buy low on Deshaun Watson. It's been a very slow start for him against very, very difficult opponents. And now things get a lot better. I still believe in the Deshaun Watson we've seen the past 2.5 years. I think he has enough weapons with Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks and Jordan Akins emerging and David Johnson averaging 10 yards per reception. I expect Deshaun Watson to be a top 6 or 7 quarterback for the rest of the season.
I feel like we could say the same for everybody in Houston.
Every time that gets brought up, I say the same thing though.
What
about Brandon Cooks? Do you feel that way about Brandon Cooks?
If he's on the way, first of all, I've seen people drop Brandon Cooks.
Yep.
So if I'm trading specifically for Brandon Cooks, it better be part of a package deal, or I'm giving up a bench player for him. If I've got 2 tight ends and my second tight end is
you've got 3 tight ends in one league, and you just put them all on the trade block, and you're asking for running backs. But let's just assume in that league you have great running backs like you do in most other leagues, and your receivers are crap, and you have Dalton Schultz, Noah Fant, and Zach Ertz. Would you give up Dalton Schultz for Brandon Cooks?
I think I would. If I needed, I would. If I needed a receiver, especially if it's PPR, I would make that move. So I'm talking about trading a tight end that I picked up off the waiver wire and spent very little fab on to go and get Brandon Cooks.
He is down to 77% rostered. So nearly a quarter of leagues, Brandon Cooks is available, and maybe the 10-team leagues he doesn't need to be rostered, but go pick him up in your 12-team league.
All right, Dave, who's your favorite buy low?
Is Zach Ertz a buy low? Jamie made the case on HQ yesterday that he wasn't, because everybody knows that he's going to be awesome now just because Philadelphia doesn't have anybody else to
They just lost their number 1 tight end.
Okay. So if you have that outlook on him, then yeah, of course you're going to say that Ertz is an obvious buy low, but I'm of the belief that not everybody is on top of the Philadelphia Eagles news, and that people who drafted Zach Ertz in rounds 3 through maybe 5 aren't happy with him, and they could have had another tight end already. And you could try and get Zach Ertz, even if you know that he's going to end up getting more target share over the next month, maybe the rest of the season. You still could probably finagle a deal.
I think you're right on. I'll tell you why, because people are so low on Carson Wentz right now, and they're so low on the Eagles offensive line, and they should be. But they just probably don't want anything to do with the Eagles except for Miles Sanders. So,
why would you want it? Why would you be okay with being with Miles Sanders, but not the rest of the offense if the offensive line was a concern?
Just because he's going to get so many touches. But I know I'm just saying what I'm seeing is just so much negative Eagles feedback, and they deserve it. But I think you're right. And Ertz had 10 targets last week, and he should get a lot of targets going forward.
Could I bring up another guy who might be a buy low?
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson.
Oh, I was going to say that, like, yeah, 100%. I've seen a lot of, just based on the emails, tweets and stuff, a lot of, should I trade this guy for Lamar Jackson? Yes, you should. Yes. We're not really worried about him, are we?
I don't think so. His offensive line did not play great against Kansas City, and the Chiefs laid out a blueprint about how to kind of pin him in, and his pass catchers have been letting him down the last couple of weeks. I think they can get that right, and I think he'll eventually start rushing for touchdowns again.
Okay. You'd rather have rest of season Lamar Jackson over Deshaun Watson, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Who are your favorite sell high guys, Heath?
The fill-in running backs. Almost all of them.
Mike Davis. Yeah.
Rex Burkhead, Jeff Wilson. I don't even know for sure that Burkhead and Wilson are going to last through week 4, but right now it kind of looks like they are. And so, like, maybe somebody is really desperate running back and has Noah Fant and Dalton Schultz and Zach Ertz, and you were a dummy and drafted Hayden Hurst at tight end because you thought he was going to be good, and you try to trade a couple of those guys for a good tight end.
Yeah. I think Mike Davis is it depends how much you need him, but if you're not starting Mike Davis and you have him, he's got value. It's not like you're ripping someone off here.
Yep.
But you're giving him a short-term fix. You're giving him or her a short-term fix, and you can get a long-term play out of it. So go for it.
Yep. That's what I did. And I'm in a league it's a 14-team industry analyst league, people who you've heard of that write about fantasy football, just like us, guys that we had on our draftathon earlier this year. I couldn't get Robbie Anderson for Rex Burkhead. Like, I'm trying to give away Rex Burkhead because I've got great depth at running back. Surprise, surprise. And I can't even get Robbie Anderson straight up for Sexy Rexy. So I don't think people are very excited about Burkhead, but there's definitely appeal for Mike Davis. He's got some value.
All right, Dave, give me a sell high.
I think Melvin Gordon is a great sell high. Even going into this matchup against the Jets, which he should be a top 10 running back coming out of. I know that Philip Lindsay is coming back soon. I know that this Broncos offensive line is getting worse. They're on to their third quarterback of the season. And Melvin Gordon sometimes gets beat up. So if you can turn Melvin Gordon into, you might be able to turn Melvin Gordon into Kenyon Drake right now. And if you can do that, you're turning water into wine. I do not see Melvin Gordon. He'll be great in week 4. Not so sure he's going to have many great games after week 4.
I'm just hoping he'll be great in week 4. So we actually are going to preview that game a little bit later, the worst game of the year, and we will discuss it.
Don't we say that about every Jets game, though?
Brett Rippon is starting, Dave. I've got some fun. Like, do you think there will be 600 total yards in that game? And by the way, week 3, the Jets and the Broncos combined for like 560 or something total yards in their respective games. Do you think we'll have 600 total stinking yards in this Thursday night game?
I think there's a lot of bad defense in this game, and no, I don't think there will be 600 yards.
I kind of think there will be.
Okay.
The Jets sounds like maybe getting Jamison Crowder back. That Broncos secondary is not very good right now. The Jets secondary is absolutely terrible. Like, that's another one of my favorite buy lows right now is Jerry Jeudy. And I think you might need to do it before Thursday night. Like, even with Brett Rippon playing, the fact that as a rookie, he's earning 8 targets a game in his first 3 games, like, he could explode at any moment.
All right.
I don't think his drops are going to last all year.
All right. So everyone, stop what you're doing right now. And if you're on a computer, go to joinhoney.com/FFT. This is honestly only going to take a few seconds. Joinhoney.com/FFT. Click a few buttons, get that browser extension. These days, it feels like online shopping is the only shopping that we do. And that's where today's sponsor, Honey, comes in. It's the free browser extension that scours the internet for promo codes and automatically applies the best one available at checkout. It's basically your online shopping best friend. I use Honey. Dave's kids use Honey. They buy everything, right? They use Honey. They save you money. That's good. My friends and my family, they all use Honey because when I found out about it, when they became a sponsor, I said, whoa, this is awesome. It took 2 seconds to install. It's free. Everybody I know needs to go get Honey right now. Joinhoney.com/FFT. Just go do your online shopping, buy what you normally buy, and then Honey's going to pop up and say, hey, I got this coupon code for you. Let's save some money. How easy is that? I've used Honey for takeout food, for sports memorabilia, for pet food, for these headphones, actually. I saved a few bucks. I get discounts all the time, and now you can too. Honey supports all kinds of retailers, from tech and gaming sites to fashion brands to even food delivery. Yeah, it might be like 5%. Might not seem like a lot, but it adds up over time. Might be a few bucks. Who knows? But it adds up over time. You save a lot of money. So it's simple. If you have a computer, Honey should be on it. It's free. It works with whatever browser you use. You can get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/FFT. That's joinhoney.com/FFT. Well, I think it's about time we talk about the COVID news. So the Titans have 3 players and other members of their organization testing positive. They're shutting down their facilities until Saturday. They're scheduled to play the Steelers on Sunday. The game could be moved to Monday or to another week later in the season, maybe week 7 or 8. You're talking about starting defensive tackle or nose tackle Daquan Jones, and a long snapper, Bo Brinkley, and a practice squad tight end, Tommy Hudson. So they're facing the Steelers this week. Meanwhile, the Titans faced the Vikings last week, and the Vikings are being cautious right now. They're closing their facilities. By the time this show is over, by the time you hear it, you might have more information on the Vikings situation.
Yeah.
Possible the Vikings, Texans, but that's less possible. It's possible that these 2 games could get moved in some capacity. So I guess generally speaking, what do fantasy managers need to know right now?
I think the next 2 mornings are key. From what I understand, everyone retested again yesterday. They're getting these tests back within 24 hours. And again, this is all from what I understand. Something could be totally erroneous, but we saw this with baseball. And I think the Cardinals were the best example. not testing positive yesterday after a game on Sunday doesn't really tell us very much yet. We've got really 48 to 72 hours of an incubation period where you could test, say that you don't have it, and then you'll find out a couple days later you actually did. So the NFL, if there's not any more positive tests, is very much on we want to play these games on time track right now. Mike Tomlin said they've been told prepare as if everything's going to go ahead as scheduled, but they don't really have the final say in this. The final say is going to come back to what these tests say. They can't play the game on time if we continue to get more and more positives as the week goes on.
And I was thinking about this, like, let's say the game gets postponed. Do you allow a fantasy manager to put, say, Derrick Henry in an IR spot? But I don't think so, because this would essentially be their bye week, wouldn't it?
I would still allow it.
It depends on if this goes down as their bye week. If let's just say that the only game that needs to be rescheduled is the Steelers and the Titans. There's a very easy way where it only affects 3 teams to reschedule that game for later in the year. And then the Steelers and the Titans would have their bye in week 4. If the NFL lays it out that way, and this is the de facto bye week for those teams, then I guess not. But if it's a postponed game that, they make it up to be determined, then yeah, I think you absolutely create that extra bench depth for those players. It's the right thing to do. Whether you can put them on your IR spot or not because they're not playing, you really shouldn't punish a league manager because a player either gets COVID or is on a team that can't play because of COVID.
Okay. So we'll keep everybody posted on that and talk with your commissioner and see what your commissioner wants to do. News and notes. So Jamison Crowder is trending in the right direction. Would he be a must start against the Broncos?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
in PPR, yes.
He'd be a top 30 wide receiver.
Philip Lindsay was limited in practice. David, the way you were talking about Melvin Gordon sounded like you didn't expect Philip Lindsay this week.
But he might play, and that just means fewer touches and less playing time for Melvin.
Yeah, when in week 1, when Lindsay got hurt, he and Gordon had basically the same amount of carries at that point. I think he actually had one more carry than Melvin Gordon. He got hurt late in the second quarter. Denver right tackle Elijah Wilkinson is likely going on IR. Meanwhile, Deontay Johnson's in the concussion protocol, so we'll check on him throughout the week. Chris Godwin, you're not going to have him this week, and he may miss multiple games. Dallas Goedert's on IR with a small ankle fracture. Deshaun Jackson could play this week. Chris Harris, Chargers cornerback, could miss 6 weeks with a foot injury. Darrell Henderson is likely to start. Back to that Broncos game, Brett Rippon is going to start at quarterback. Philadelphia signed Hakeem Butler and is going to use him as a tight end. Anybody see any dynasty value there?
Insert Undertaker GIF here. He's rising up out of the casket.
Awesome. All right.
I still have 2 dynasty rosters with Hakeem Butler on it. So, yeah.
Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. He could be the second tight end to Dallas Goedert next year.
Oh.
I just saw this stat this morning on ESPN. DeMarcus Lawrence, Cowboys defensive end, he doesn't have a sack since week 8 of last year. Over 400 snaps without a sack. Wow.
Yeah.
Texans will not sign Earl Thomas. Do we have any updates on every 49er who's injured?
I have nothing.
Nope.
Michael Thomas.
Nope.
Chris Carson.
Sounds like it's going to be 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Without him.
Jared Cook.
Nope.
Okay. So
I like how we used to do you expect? I enjoy do we have any updates on much more.
Well, do you expect it, I think, is more of a Thursday, Friday thing after we get some practice reports. All right, we can do more buy low, sell high. Let me promote one thing here. It's time for you to win some big time cash prizes. We're giving away $40,000 in cash with the CBS Sports Parlay Pick'em. The contest is simple. Just correctly pick 5 games against the spread, answer a couple tiebreaker questions, and you could win cash every week, starting with $5,000 in week 1. Plus, come back every week for your shot to win the $20,000 season-long prize. You could even start a group with friends to up the action. Odds for the contest are provided by William Hill. So if you live in one of the 50 U.S. states and you're over 18, download the CBS Sports app or visit cbssports.com/parlay. cbssports.com/parlay. Take your shot at the cash. Data rates may apply. Limit 1 entry per person. The game is sponsored by Viacom CBS, and you can find the full rules at cbssports.com/parlay. And if you want to ask us some questions on Twitter, use the hashtag AskFFT all season long. I'll get a few more buy low and sell high from you guys later. Let me give you some stats. I want to hear what you guys think about these. Do these stats matter? All right, you hear me talk about running backs and that 50 catch mark. Typically need about 50 catches to be a top 5 running back.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Chubb and Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook has 5 catches. He did thankfully have 5 targets in week 3 as they had the ball a little bit more than they did in the first 2 weeks. Nick Chubb has 3 catches on 3 targets. Cook is 3rd in non-PPR. Chubb is 4th. Cook is 4th in non-PPR. Chubb is 8th. But when you look at these low catch numbers here, does that make you at all concerned about the fantasy productions for Dalvin Cook or Nick Chubb?
I would expect Cook to eventually have a couple of games where he gets 4+ receptions. That's bound to happen with him. But Chubb, I think we pretty much know now that the one area that we can expect him not to play in is the hurry up offense for Cleveland. 2-minute drill, unless they're like inside the 10, or when they're chasing points late.
I think this game is really, really interesting this week for the Browns running backs against the Cowboys, because I would expect the Cowboys are going to score at will. And I expect Cleveland's going to be playing from behind, which in the way we expect things to work would mean a lot more Kareem Hunt than Nick Chubb. The other thing that I found that was interesting, Kareem Hunt currently has more red zone carries than Nick Chubb.
That is crazy.
Inside the 5-yard line, though, Nick Chubb has 4 carries. Hunt has 2. Now, remember, Nick Chubb had a few of them consecutively. Didn't he get stuffed 3 times in a row?
But he's also scored more red zone touchdowns than Hunt, even though Hunt has more carries.
Well, but Hunt has 2 catches in the red zone.
Yeah.
2 touchdown catches.
It's really like, I don't know that we will learn anything. And this situation may be just as simple as just start them both and stop trying to analyze which one's going to be better in which situation. But yes, I do think it hurts Chubb's profile in PPR a little bit. It's weird. Alexander Mattison has as many catches as Dalvin Cook. That might be garbage time. I'm not sure. But I'm a little bit concerned because we were like, it's weird to say that about Cook after the week he just had. But we were definitely expecting 50+ catches from Dalvin Cook, and that's going to be a hard number to get to now.
I'm encouraged that he had 5 targets in week 3, even though he only caught, I think 2 of those. Maybe, I don't know, whatever it was. But I guess I'm just trying to ask, like, would you try to sell high on, let's say, Nick Chubb? Because Nick Chubb is very uninvolved in the passing game. And, you know, is he just going to be like Derrick Henry from last year and score a bunch of touchdowns? Or do you think there's an opportunity to sell? And when I say sell high, I mean, you basically ask for anything you want, because he's obviously a must.
Sure. So if I could pair Nick Chubb with a small-ish piece of my roster to go get Alvin Kamara or Ezekiel Elliott, I would. Would I trade him straight up for Christian McCaffrey right now?
Yes. If I was 3-0, for sure.
If I was 3-0 and I had running back depth, I think I could make the case for it. But if I'm 2-1, 1-2, and my running back depth isn't great, I don't know if I'm doing that.
All right. Tell me if this matters to you. Cincinnati has run the 2nd most plays in the NFL behind Dallas, but they are last in the NFL in yards per play.
They had a complete overtime game. Like they went the distance in overtime.
They've lost by 3, by 5, and they've tied.
Well, I think that contributes probably to running the most plays. They played an extra quarter.
Okay, so then what's more significant? The fact that, I think they were up there in plays even going into week 2, going into week 3. But how about the fact that they're last in yards per play?
They're not good. That should not be a surprise to anyone.
And if they can't improve specifically the run game, that's an indictment of the coaching staff, big time. And especially this week
line just can't block anybody.
Right, that's fine, but you work around that. You find ways to implement your running back besides doing the exact same thing over and over again for 12 straight quarters.
I say all this about how bad they are, and I've got Joe Burrow as a top 10 quarterback this week.
I know, that's what I was going to say. Like, this is a Joe Boo week for them, isn't it?
This is definitely a Joe Boo week for their whole offense.
All right, next stat. Josh Allen has 16 pass attempts inside the 10-yard line. He had 21 last year. 16 already. Buffalo is 7th in pass attempts, which is like crazy. They've been a running team since like 25 years, you know, it's like crazy. But What does this mean to you?
It means to me that I completely misjudged the Bills offense coming into the year. And I was under the impression that they were going to do plenty of running and that they were going to try and take pressure off of Josh Allen and that Allen wouldn't run as much. And the exact opposite has happened. Allen is running plenty. He's playing great. And they've just decided, you know what, we're gonna be a Josh Allen centric offense. And we're just going to let him make plays. And he's been doing it. He's been great. And I feel bad and dumb about having Allen ranked as low as I did, but I'm enjoying the hell out of watching him play, man. He is fun.
Josh Allen or Deshaun Watson rest of the season?
I think you have to say Allen.
Yeah, I would say Allen with the caveat that I wouldn't be surprised if I changed my mind in 2 weeks, but right now I would definitely, there's no way to say anything but Allen.
Would you trade Josh Allen for Lamar Jackson?
No.
I would rather have Lamar Jackson than Josh Allen.
Okay, how about this? Michael Gallup's ADOT, average depth of target.
This is going to be high.
16.8.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 14.1, 12.2, and 16.8. So his targets are coming farther down the field now than they have ever had. His yards before reception are up from 11.7 to 18.2. That stat, by the way, yards before reception, second in the NFL behind DK Metcalf. So Michael Gallup, I don't love this trend here. I mean, I feel like he's turning into this boomer bust wide receiver.
I just wonder, and I hate to keep going back to this play, but the sample size is still small enough that I'm going to. Like, we're one play on a bogus PI call, and his yards before reception might go up 2 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a 40-yard pass. And yeah, he's the downfield threat for this offense, no question.
Like is he just going to be, his yards before reception is second in the NFL. Like it's very high. Okay, the broader point I'd like to make and get your opinion on, when you look at ADOT and you look at how far downfield guys are running routes, I feel like you don't want a high ADOT. I mean, a lot of fantasy analysts really like it, but I think it's bad for PPR unless you're like a really special player. But I think it's really bad for PPR. It leads to fewer catches, higher yards per catch, but I think it could lead to a lot of boomer bust weeks. Very frustrating stuff.
For sure. Like, these guys are better in best ball. They're better in non-PPR than they are in full PPR, but they're also league winners 3 or 4 times a year, like are week winners. And I think Gallup was a week winner last week. Like, you've got 2 disappointing performances and then a week winner.
So what do you think about this week? And I don't know, the game against the Browns, which I don't really know how this one's going to go. Should be interesting.
I think the Cowboys probably put up 40. I don't know how they'll do it. They've got too many weapons, but
he'll get some shots.
Yeah.
They'll take some shots to him.
You're probably starting him as your third receiver or flex.
5 of his 11 receptions have gone for at least 19 yards. So I think we've got a pretty good idea of how they're using Michael Gallup. And the more you feel confident in the Cowboys being in a shootout, high scoring type of a game, the more you should want to start Gallup.
Yeah. So except they've been in 3 shootouts, and he said 2. Well, I don't know if week 1 was a shootout. Okay. And finally, would you rather have Tyler Boyd or Michael Gallup?
I
would take the guy with the lower ADOT here because I like the target share.
Boyd and PPR for sure. Non-PPR, I think it's a real question.
All right, final thing here on ADOT. Chris Towers brought this up on Monday. Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore have like switched roles. Robbie Anderson's ADOT, average depth of target, 8.5 yards, very low. He's usually around 15. Whereas DJ Moore, his ADOT is up from 11.1 last year to 13.5 this year. But we love DJ Moore because Teddy Bridgewater is a conservative quarterback. He throws short a lot. Robbie Anderson is running these very short routes. Mm-hmm. DJ Moore is going a little bit deeper downfield.
You want to know the truth is that everybody on the Panthers is running these short routes, and there's occasional deep routes for Robbie and DJ. And I spent a little time yesterday watching all of DJ's targets, and he's not separating from man coverage very well. It's like that's one little nitpick that I've got on him. And when it comes to contested catches, it's probably truly a 50-50 type deal with him.
And again, this is kind of like what we were saying about the Texans. He's faced the Buccaneers and the Chargers the past 2 weeks. Like, that, very few receivers separate against those defensive backs. That's why they're so good against the pass.
Yeah. So are you thinking buy low
Maybe.
on DJ Moore, or are you thinking there are really reasons to be concerned here?
I
Depends
just
on
wanted
what you're
to.
buying. Don't give up too much for him, but you could go after him.
Yeah, I still view him as a must start wide receiver every week. This same thing you're talking about has also happened in New England. Julian Edelman's ADOT is over 12
Really?
so far this season. N'Keal Harry is at 6.3. It's Edelman's being targeted twice as far downfield as N'Keal Harry.
Is that weighed by what happened in Seattle?
Well, certainly that would be a third of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe more than a third of it though, because he had probably had a lot more targets in that game that he had in week 1. But yeah, all right. It's small sample size, I guess. Like you're still taking DJ Moore over Robbie Anderson rest of the season, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would you rather have DJ Moore or DK Metcalf? In PPR
Metcalf.
It's completely dependent on format for me.
All right. So PPR, who are you taking?
More.
And Dave's going to take Metcalf. All right. Let's get this crap game out of the way. Denver at the Jets.
No.
Denver and the Jets.
Basic questions. How many turnovers in this game?
4.
Over under 600 total yards.
Over.
We answered that. Under.
Well, there you go. Over under 30 completed passes. And to give you some context, Sam Darnold
Under.
21. Well, Sam Darnold's had 21, 21, and 17. So he'll hold up his end of the bargain.
Over.
30 completed passes. Okay. You guys not seeing eye to eye on these stupid props. Jets are 0-3. They've been horrible. Broncos are 0-3. Lost by 2 to the Titans, 5 to
Your last question was the best one.
Oh, which player scores the most fantasy points in half PPR?
Melvin Gordon.
Arnold?
Yeah.
He's like 16, 17 points, something like that.
I'd feel a little bit better about him if he had Crowder.
Yeah. Okay. The Titans or the Broncos, they were okay weeks 1 and 2, lost some close games. Week 3, they got blown out. They didn't have their quarterback. 28-10, they lost against Tampa Bay. So we're not starting the quarterbacks in this game. Let's go right to the running backs. Now, the Jets, they were horrible against the 49ers, but their MO is having a good run defense, and they were really good against the Bills guys, and they were okay against Jonathan Taylor, 13 carries, 59 yards, and a touchdown. Is this a good matchup for Melvin Gordon? And, you know, where are you ranking him now, and where would you rank him if Philip Lindsay plays?
Top 10 running back right now. Top 15 running back, even with Lindsay playing.
Yeah, I've got him at 15 to 20 right now, and 20 to 25 if Lindsay plays.
Are you going to start Mike Davis over Melvin Gordon?
Well, yes.
No.
You really like Melvin Gordon, huh, Dave?
I do.
So you don't think the Jets run defense is good?
I think their run defense has been okay, but I still think the Broncos can lean on Gordon, provided that he's the main back for them, and that the field position will end up being in their favor because the Jets will turn the ball over, and they're not going to lean heavy on Brett Rippon. They're gonna lean on Melvin Gordon as much of their offensive line as they possibly can.
Yeah, well, let's hope we get a lot of carries out of him. I'll give you
counting on that. Counting on it.
How about Devin Singletary? You may not know Zach Moss's status on Thursday, but Devin Singletary at Las Vegas or Melvin Gordon?
Melvin.
If Zach Moss doesn't practice Thursday, then I would start Singletary.
How about...
And if Philip Lindsay plays, I would start Singletary regardless.
Julian Edelman or Melvin Gordon? PPR.
Edelman.
Gordon.
All right. Moving on to the wide receivers. In this game, let's just do both teams here. Let's say Jamison Crowder plays. Crowder or Judy, who's the best wide receiver?
Crowder.
Yep.
Crowder, you said, would be like about 30th.
I know this matchup looks good for Jerry Jeudy, but Jeudy hasn't looked good. And this is the third quarterback that he's working with this season. So I feel like I need to see it from Jeudy before I trust him.
Okay, what about Crowder though? You guys said he'd be a number 3 guy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If not higher.
Top 30.
What did I do now? You guys are laughing.
He asked about Jamison Crowder, and you said you don't like Jerry Jeudy.
No, I know, because I was thinking about Crowder versus Jeudy.
Oh, okay. I got you. How about Odell Beckham?
I'm doing a completely different podcast in my head right now, Adam. Sorry.
How is it? Is it good?
It's so much worse than what we're doing. It's so bad. But there's curse words. There's curse words.
Crowder. Odell Beckham or Crowder?
Beckham.
Crowder. Yeah, I don't have much confidence in Odell Beckham.
Oh, they're gonna have to throw the ball.
Wow.
Cowboys are gonna
Maybe.
Even in non-PPR, Heath?
In non-PPR, I might go Beckham. I've got Beckham right around 30, so it'd be like I haven't projected Crowder, but it'd be close.
Oh, I got a good one. PPR league: Joe Mixon or Jamison Crowder?
Mixon.
Mm.
I'm giving Mixon the benefit of the doubt for one more week.
I would say probably Mixon. Yeah.
Now, I do love the specific matchup for Crowder because they're starting a rookie in the slot in Denver, and he's allowed like an 89% catch rate and a quarterback rating of over 130. He doesn't seem to be really good at covering slot receivers, so Crowder could end up doing well.
I'm starting him in my one league that I have him in. I'm excited.
If he plays.
So, and if anybody cares a reference, I'd start him. Starting him over Darius Slayton.
This is a chance for him to get back. We got a really interesting trade in that 2 quarterback lead. I've got a big lead on you, but Jamison Crowder gets to try to make it up now.
I have a feeling I'm going to win that trade. My Mitchell Trubisky for your Jamison Crowder. All right, yeah. So any other wide receivers in this game? Berrios has been good. KJ Hamler had 7 targets. Tim Patrick caught a touchdown last week. Anyone else?
I think Berrios is in play if Crowder does not play.
Do you like or love Noah Fant this week?
Gotta love him.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of the quarterback. I mean, like he got 10 targets last week and only had 5 catches for 46 yards. The Jets have given up 3 touchdowns to tight ends in their last 2 games. Jordan Reed had 2. Mo Alley-Cox had 1. They both had 50 yards. So the matchup is perfectly fine.
And let's not poo-poo 5 catches for 46 yards. We were just talking about Gronk's breakout game, which wasn't much different.
Oh, but it was on 10 targets. It's not a great game for 10 targets, right?
Right.
Right. It's bad efficiency-wise, but fantasy-wise, like not getting any rates in my fantasy points.
Sure. Jonnu Smith or Noah Fant?
Fant.
Jonnu.
Are we going to have any clarification on the Titans' status?
That's a good point.
By Thursday night.
Okay, Hunter Henry or Noah Fant?
Fant.
Okay. And is there anything I'm missing? Frank Gore, then the DSTs. We'll talk about them.
I did try on my, podcast that's in my head to make a case for Frank Gore. Short week. Offensive lines, defensive line for Denver is in bad shape. I can't do it. I can't recommend Frank Gore.
I might go try to make a trade offer for Le'Veon Bell. Reports have surfaced that if the Jets lose this game, some things in New York might be changing. And Le'Veon Bell's hamstring might feel better after those things change.
Interesting.
So he can come back next week.
Correct.
Yes.
But also, yes, both defenses. I'm starting them both.
Who do you like better?
Broncos.
I'm only starting the Broncos, but they're low end. They are toward the bottom of the top 12.
By the way, Chris Herndon
stinks. Yeah.
Well, look, he might, but he has had so far. He has faced 3 teams. 2 of them are giving up the fewest fantasy points to tight ends, and the other is Buffalo, who probably would be right there if not for the one game where their 2 starting linebackers were out. It's possible when we see the season play out that he's just faced 3 teams that are great against tight ends. So it's just something to keep in mind. If he has a good game, maybe you can buy into it a little bit more on waivers next week. All right, Nick Fox is going to join us in a bit. We're going to do some fill in the blank. Did you guys want to give any more buy low or sell highs?
If James Conner is on your team, shop him around and see what you can get. Not saying absolutely get rid of him, but if you can turn it, almost the same thing that we were talking about with, was it Chubb earlier, where you're just going to move up and upgrade to like one of the elite running backs. And if you can do that with Conner, I think the timing is great on that. And if you can't trade Conner, just get Benny Snell, please. Back up Conner with Snell. Snell's hitting the waiver wire in a bunch of leagues now.
Any other names? I'm going to throw out Evan Ingram. It's hard to get. I really think it's difficult to find a tight end on the waiver wire right now. Dalton Schultz is like the only one that I'm excited about. He was 60% rostered before yesterday. So
you're buying low on Ingram.
I'm buying low on Ingram, thinking he'll be usable. He'll be like a top 10 tight end. I don't think he's going to be great, but he's getting a lot of targets. His stats are basically the same as Logan Thomas's, and he's better than Logan Thomas. He's got.
I don't know if he is.
I'm pretty sure. I
don't know if his quarterback is better than Logan Thomas's quarterback.
I also think he is, but it's a bad situation, no doubt. I'm no longer expecting Evan Ingram to be. First of all, I wasn't like I didn't really. I don't have any shares. Maybe one team I share with Heath. I just think that he's going to be usable. So if you're sitting there like, gosh, I have Mo Alley Cox, I'd rather have Evan Ingram.
I would too.
He'll be okay.
Go see if you can move Mo Alley Cox for Evan Ingram.
Well, dude, Mo Alley Cox. I was looking at the waiver reports. Like Mo Alley Cox in our leagues got a lot of love.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one guy. If you're desperate at tight end, and I think Mark Andrews is a much higher end buy low. I think we agree on that, right?
Yeah, buying tight ends.
It's the look. People, a lot of fantasy managers have multiple tight ends on their roster.
Dave's got 3 in one of our leagues.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to find him on waivers. Thanks, Dave. So you got to
Let's make a trade.
Let's
got
make
a
Rex
deal.
Burkhead and Jeff Wilson and Malcolm Brown, Dave. I've got 3 running backs for you.
Give me all 3 of them for Dalton Schultz. It's generous.
So anything else? Dave had a lot of names earlier. Oh, Cam Newton sell high.
I talked about Cam Newton and Juju as sell high candidates on HQ, and really Cam was the quarterback. I had to pick a quarterback, and I thought I can make the case for him as a sell high, even though he's coming off of a bad game. I think he has a good game this week. If you're just not in love with Cam Newton's long-term prospects, or if you can upgrade on him, you can do it. I'm not saying get him off your team. The worst is coming for him. I don't think that's happening. But last week was an example of a game where Cam Newton didn't have to do much and the Patriots were just fine. And they're getting healthier running back for sure over the next couple of weeks. So I don't know what that's going to do to Cam's totals overall. If the Patriots know they can just run, that could hurt Cam. And
but he's still their best running back
at the goal line.
Does anybody feel like DeAndre Swift and Cam Akers are buy low candidates? Are we just
yes, 100%? Yes, this was the blueprint. They're going to be bad early in the year. Wait until somebody gets sick of them, and they've been dropped in a few leagues.
I'd just rather wait till they get dropped and then I'll pick them up.
But like if Dave could turn, like even Noah Fant, I would say, into one of those 2 in that IDP league, I would be thrilled to do that.
Oh man,
I'm not giving up Fant for one of those 2 right now.
You're not even starting Fant this week, are you?
In the IDP league, I'm not sure. I probably will.
Over Ertz?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Noah Fant
over Zach Ertz?
I can probably start them both.
I might want to do that. All right.
Somebody told me once that starting a tight end in your flex was the stupidest thing you'd ever heard.
In a league with that many players, it's a little bit different. Things have changed, Heath. Draggy B, we got Nick coming on, or are we just waiting?
Nick will come on in a bit. We can take a break right now.
Or we can keep going. I don't care. I got more stuff in the notes.
Let's take a break.
Oh.
You sure? I could read the Apple Podcast questions. Why don't we do that?
All right, let's do it.
Thumbs up, Draggy B, or do we need
He's in charge here?
We need to take a break. I can take a break. That's fine.
You know what? I'm going to take charge. We're going to take a break.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. And time for our guest of honor, Nick Fox, joining us now. And as I mentioned, Nick very generously donated to St. Jude to come on our show. He's been listening to us and tweeting us, interacting with us for years. Finally get to meet him and talk to him. This is awesome. This is a real pleasure for us, real honor for us. Nick, first of all, thanks for your generosity and welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam, thanks for having me, guys. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and this is the least I can do, through these trying times. Just all we can do is help, and you guys do a fantastic job with St. Jude, and it's an honor to be here.
Love that mindset. It's an honor to share the podcast airwaves with you. Thank you for your generosity.
Thanks, Dave. Again, big fan. I'm so happy I'm here.
Is that a Notre Dame hat you have on?
Yeah, Fighting Irish. Let's go.
Just join the ACC already. Like, what the hell? You're so high and mighty. Like, come on, just join the conference.
Hey, it's with everything going on with the pandemic, it's the great team, obviously historical team, and hopefully they can get back on the field soon.
Yeah. All right. So Nick, you have you're in 10 leagues, and
yes, 10 leagues
is the FFT Open. So,
right. Yep.
So cool. Tell us about this.
Yeah. So Casey Simmons, obviously he's a big fan of yours as well. On the Facebook group. He was trying to get, the fishbowl type of mentality and mantra. So, I was happy to join one of the leagues, and I'm sorry to say I'm 3-0. So it's been a great start for me. And, he's doing a great job. So, hats off to Casey as well.
Yeah. Casey's crushing it. He sends out an email every week. He's got like a website. He's so organized, very impressed. He put this together in a day or maybe 2 days. And we have something like, I don't remember the exact number, but like 200 people in the league. So awesome stuff.
Can he commission all of our leagues?
He probably would. He's real good at it. All right, we're gonna do some fill in the blank and some Apple Podcast questions here with Nick. So we'll let Nick go last. Give him time to think about it and give him time to correct all of your mistakes. So this is from Pat from Ohio. Le'Veon Bell will be a blank running back for the rest of the season, and a new blank would be the reason. So Le'Veon Bell will be a blank running back rest of season, and a new blank would be the reason.
What up, Pat? I'm going to say low end number 2 running back and new coach will be the reason.
Top 25 running back and new hamstring.
I was thinking about saying hamstring. Now, what if we amend this question?
Let Nick give the fill in the blank.
I'm going to let Nick answer this first.
Okay.
We're only going to do one fill in the blank. So I'm going to reread it just for you, Nick. Le'Veon Bell will be a blank running back for the rest of the season, and a new team will be the reason. So Le'Veon's traded. I don't know the team. It's not the Jets. What would he be rest of season?
I'm with you guys. I still think in a PPR league, he's a low end RB2. Obviously, in New York right now, they need a new coach because obviously, someone doesn't like him right there and right now. So I would say low end RB2 and hopefully even better if he's on a team that'll actually utilize him.
Yeah. Like I think about all the injuries that the 49ers are going through and, what if the injury to McKinnon and Mostert are more severe than they're letting on, or what if Carson was done for the year? Imagine Le'Veon Bell on one of those two teams, especially San Francisco. Holy moly. I think he'd be closer to a top 15 running back rest of the year, if not higher.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, maybe in Pittsburgh too, maybe a reunion in Pittsburgh, who knows, but it would definitely help his value. No doubt.
Yeah, that would be a shock to see, but why not? Let's just keep on dreaming. Let's keep on rolling with it. I think I don't think the fantasy world dislikes Le'Veon Bell. I think they see him as a good talent, just stuck on a bad team. And I think they'd race right back to loving him if he was on a different team.
I agree with that. But I mean, I agree. I'm not sure if you
in the here and now. Like I understand that we've got bitter feelings toward him for his holdout back in 18.
No. I just don't know that he's so good anymore. Like how I felt. He hasn't had a 30-yard run in 3 years. He hasn't had a 20-yard run. Well, it's been 2 full seasons since he's had a 30-yard run. He didn't have a 20-yard run last year. I don't care how bad your offensive line is. The guy is not making any explosive plays anymore. He's pretty advanced in his career. He just might not be that good. So, I'm not sure. But
I'd be more excited if he was on a different team.
Yeah. Oh, I would too. Okay. From Larry, Joe Mixon will be RB blank rest of the season.
16.
17.
He's 17 currently. I'm with kind of around you guys. I'm saying 15, and he's definitely a buy low right now.
From the River King, the second best wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers rest of season will be blank.
Lazard.
Like, what's the other choice? Devontae Adams?
MVS.
It's Allen Lazard.
Lazard for me as well. Yeah, MVS is just they're going to roll coverage, even if Devontae's in. Lazard's a possession receiver, and I think he'll be the best.
You could say AJ Green.
Maybe.
For the Packers?
Yeah.
Oh,
we can't make up trades for other players besides Le'Veon Bell?
Dave, this podcast that is going on in your mind is really interesting. You're trading players all over the place. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Frank Gore, AJ Green.
Taylor Story says next week.
Joe Mixon.
It's got to be Joe Mixon.
Across the board.
Because I think I know what I'm going to do with AJ Green.
You drop him or trade him?
Well, I'm going to trade him to the Packers, apparently. No, I'm going to bench him. I won't be able to trust him on my fantasy team.
What about Kenny and Drake?
Yeah.
I love that schedule coming up for him. And I think the workload that he's had has been good. I'm not ready to put him on the Joe Boo list yet.
I'll tell you what, I'm not sure what I'm going to do if Darius Slayton has another letdown. I think it might be time to drop him.
Could be, yeah.
Okay, from VC. I think DK Metcalf's production is blank sustainable, and I would blank try to sell high on him now. I'll read it again. I think DK Metcalf's production is blank sustainable, and I would blank try to sell high on him now.
I think DK Metcalf's production is potentially sustainable, meaning he can do these big plays every week. And I'm not even going to fill in that blank. I could try selling high on Metcalf.
He's the number 6 wide receiver in fantasy with 12 catches. I think DK Metcalf's production is not sustainable. And I would probably try to sell high on him now.
If you could turn him into Kenny Golladay, would you? You would.
Yes.
If you could, would you want to turn him into Robert Woods?
In PPR, yes.
Would you want to turn him into Odell Beckham?
No.
Terry McLaurin?
No.
Yeah, probably.
I think pineapple does belong on pizza. I don't care what you say.
Oh my God, love that. All right, Nick,
Sorry. That was the other podcast again.
Nick, would you trade DK Metcalf for Joe Mixon?
No.
It's always the age-old question. What do you have? What do you need? In a vacuum, I'd say you could potentially do that. I'm on a bandwagon of I'm selling Lockett for, I'm selling high on Lockett right now. I think Metcalf's, PPR stats are sustainable for me, and I'm selling high, obviously on Lockett right now.
All right, let's do one or two more here from
Nick.
Joe.
Hold on. Nick, are you selling high on Russell Wilson?
Ooh, in a bunch of leagues, I have him as my quarterback.
Me too.
I think this is the year, man. I just think he's going to win MVP, and he's going to continue, with the counting stats. I just think it's his year, and everyone else is watching.
All right, Adrian Peterson will blank this season for the Lions. Adrian Peterson will blank this season for the Lions.
Play?
I don't
Start
blank this season.
It doesn't have to be one
Am
word.
I supposed to use a dirty word here?
I did on the podcast up in my noggin.
Lead the running backs.
And so, you can't fill in the blank with that and then also tell me that DeAndre Swift is a buy low.
Sure you can.
No, you can't, Heath.
Why? Heath is making the case.
I have done that.
Heath is making the case that 2 Lions running backs will be startable for fantasy.
Oh
this year.
yeah, so the Lions have not had a one startable running back in 7 years. Now let's get 2.
Adrian Peterson will be a bye-week replacement running back this season for the Lions.
Okay, there you go. That's a good one. Nick, any love for Adrian Peterson?
I mean, if I had answered this, I would say he would continue to be the ball cow running back for the Lions. And, last couple of seasons, he's been putting up those rushing yards and stats. So I think they're going to continue it. And Swift, maybe spell him a little bit. And I think, DeAndre Swift is more next year's, he could be a really good player next year.
Finally, from Alex, Heath Cummings will rank Rodrigo Blankenship in the top blank.
So there's 2 blanks in this question.
I'm not doing baseball rankings anymore.
Come on, Heath. You're way too low on Rodrigo Blankenship week after week.
Where do I have him?
Let's find out. If it's
9 or 10, I think. He's a top 10.
I have him 9th.
Oh, okay, good. Learn your lesson.
Is that where does he rank for the year? Has he done a lot of kicks?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's managed to kick well, and even I don't know how well he's kicked. He's missed a couple.
Wait, no, he's 5th. Guys,
this is solely just a glasses thing, right?
Oh, he's third.
You got a problem with people with glasses, Heath?
There are 3 people tied for third, and he's one of them.
In what scoring format?
I don't know. One of the leagues.
Just point per yard?
No.
1/10 of a point per yard?
Dude, who cares? Okay, let's go to our Apple Podcast
This
questions.
is shtick at this point.
Finish the show at this point. Finish the show with these Apple Podcast questions. I'm gonna let Nick go first on all these. From Shine Dog, 12-team PPR, grade the trade. Give Darrell Henderson and Russell Gage for Kenyon Drake and Brandon Cooks. Darrell Henderson and Russell Gage for Kenyon Drake and Brandon Cooks.
I kind of, it's whether you believe Cooks can, you know, you guys have been saying that all the Texans are good buy lows right now. I don't think Gage is going to be this productive for the rest of the season. I know he's going through some issues right now. I'm kind of leaning towards the Drake Cook side and just hoping that both players are, you know, you're buying low and it could help you win, you know, for the rest of the season. So I'll say B-.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, C-.
Oh, you don't like it then?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I do. B-.
B-. Okay. So Henderson and Gage for Drake and Cooks. Dave, Heath, what do you got?
I think the Drake side wins.
Okay. From Grant Witcher, give up Evan Ingram and David Montgomery. Get back a Coors Light tall can and a high five.
Easily A.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's David Montgomery also very frustrating. Maybe David Montgomery's a buy low.
For sure.
You should, yes.
Okay. Ryan from a city northwest of Tampa.
Northwest of Tampa, Gainesville.
Most of America, really.
No, wait. Isn't Gainesville east of Tampa?
Oh, Northwest. I got my West and East mixed
Seattle.
up. Northwest of Tampa. Let's go with Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, Memphis. Okay, grade the trade. Give up Austin Eckler, Tyler Boyd, and Jonnu Smith. Austin Eckler, Tyler Boyd, and Jonnu Smith. Get back Kenyon Drake, Deontay Johnson, Darius Slayton, and N'Keal Harry.
D.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I'll send it.
That was a grading on a curve, too, to give him a D. Everybody else flunked the test, so I'm going to give you a D.
From Steve, would you accept this trade in PPR? Give up Josh Jacobs and AJ Green. Get DeAndre Hopkins and Kareem Hunt. Jacobs and AJ Green. Get DeAndre Hopkins and Kareem Hunt.
I mean, Kareem Hunt seems like he's the talk of the town right now. What's going to happen with the Browns this year? I think you're getting the best player in Hopkins in the deal, so I'd probably say it's a solid B for me.
Hopkins Hunt side is better.
Yeah. Dave does not give grades anymore. They're demeaning to kids. We're just going to go to the new grading system.
Everybody passes. No, I'm just going to tell you which side. I'm telling you which side grades out better on the trade chart.
Dave's other podcast that his head is called Dave's Grades. Dave's Trades Grades. Something like he just grades everything the entire show.
B+.
We're looking forward to it.
That's
all
not what it's called.
Thanks for coming on, dude. It was really great having you on.
Guys, again, big fan. I really appreciate this. And, hats off to Ben for putting this together. And, I'll definitely follow me on Twitter if you guys want, CT_Fox, FOX. And, thanks a lot. It's been a great time.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah,
Thank you, Nick.
Donation, absolutely. And for being such a dedicated listener, we really appreciate it. And good luck to you in all 10 of your leagues. For Dave Richard and Heath Cummings and Ben Schrager, I'm Adam Azer. Talk to you tomorrow with Starter Sit for the AFC home games.
Want more of the Fantasy Football Today podcast and nonstop year-round fantasy advice? It's simple. Hit the subscribe button and hang with us all throughout the year.